Well, I'd like to thank you everyone for coming today to our tile floor coating webinar. We're really grateful that you took the time out to come and listen about this presentation of our new tile floor coating. Just a few things to note before we get started. I know that I said, or that we said in the email, that this would take half an hour, but probably take a little bit longer because I want to make sure that I answer any questions that you may have during the course of the webinar. Please, when you do have questions, type them in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and answer those, as many as I can at the end. Other thing to note is we have a giveaway, but in order to have that giveaway done, you have to be present at the webinar here. So don't, run off. Make sure that you stay for the entire duration of the webinar, and we will be giving away a Titan Flex Spray Pro, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be going, it's a lot of information here. We're going to be going over a broad overview of what the tile floor coating is in terms of how to use it and how to handle it. We'll be talking about cleaning and preparation prior to them applying the coating, the actual application process, because it's a little bit different than what you're used to. So I'll talk through that. We'll talk about pricing jobs, and then also special effects that you can do to kind of elevate these coatings that you're going to be applying for end users. Then after that, we'll actually have a question and answer session. So for those of you that don't know who we are or never heard this, we are NAPCO. We are the leader in the bathing kitchen refinishing industry. We've been around since 1979, so we'll be celebrating our 46th year anniversary this year. We are the manufacturer of all of these high quality coatings, but we also offer refinishing training and also business training for people that want to grow. And that's a really important thing to us, which I'll talk about here in a minute. We really care about this industry and also about you. We want to make sure that we're providing all the support that you need. You are our partners, but also for vendors, for our own employees. We care about everyone that we come in contact with. And that's the reason why we do this. We're very passionate about this and about trying to help so that everyone succeeds. Now, I am not a political person at all, but that's why this is a really, really important thing, and why this resonated with me when I first started working at NAPCO. So our core values they're not really buzzwordy at all. They are, we care. I mean, we care about you. We care about each other. We care about vendors that we come in contact with. Pretty much anybody that we come in contact with, we care about them, and we try to live that. We solve things. That's something I really, really enjoy doing. For those of you that have spoken with me before or know who I am, I love kind of diagnosing things with people and trying to help you out if you run into an issue, because that's part of who we are, is making sure that we solve things. We grow. That's another important thing. We want to make sure that we grow as a company and that we're learning things, and we want to help you grow. We've talked before about this franchise-like experience, but without the actual fees or royalties or anything. There's no need for that. That's just, again, part of who we are, is making sure we give you that support so that you grow. And then building partnerships. Well, you're a partner. We're partners with each other. Again, partners with people that we come in contact with. That's a really important and valuable thing. This is a very, very busy slide, I know, but it just kind of details the products that we sell and what we've created, because we've created hundreds of different products, but the most sought after things that we've created are high gloss bright white coating, which is actually, and that goes hand in hand with our low VOC. So the Polyglass 320 line is a low VOC coating, and we were the first in the industry to actually have that, as well as our 24-hour, which is the regular dry, and 4-hour, which is our mega fast line. We're always trying to make things safer, and that's why the methylene chloride free stripper, that was a really important thing, because there were only methylene chloride based strippers and I think we were the first to actually have that. And then waterborne coatings. We wanted to make sure that we're always trying to be not just more efficient, but also more eco-friendly. And one of the things that was asked was, hey, do you have anything that can be sprayed wet on wet over Flintstone? And we didn't at the time, but that was one of the first things I worked on, was coming up with a clear coat. It was waterborne that we could spray, we could sell and spray over Flintstone, and now it's released out in the market and it works great. So let's talk specifically about the tile floor coating. First of all, why in the world did we formulate this? Well, it's because we listened to you. It's because people were asking us, do you have anything that can be applied onto the tile floor? And we said, well, our clears, they're kind of durable, but I mean, we didn't really have anything that was, applicable. So listening to you, and we realized that there was something that we could actually formulate, because it's another tool that's in your toolbox, as I mentioned earlier. And the more tools that you have to provide for your end users, the more finishing options that you have. And when that's the case, that's a greater revenue stream for you, which means that you grow. And really that's the bottom line. So we love partnering with people that actually share our values. And one of our core values is we grow, and we want you to grow too. So I was tasked with this. Is there something that you can do? And I said, well, let me take a look. I knew that our Polyglass 320 is a great coating. That's a great coating line, and it's a great backbone to get started. But there were things that I had to do to modify it, and I wanted to think about how to approach this, because there were things in 320 that actually weren't good enough. I'd say good enough to act for our tile floor coating. So wanted to stick with the 2K polyurethane. It's a great backbone. It's something that chemically we're very, very familiar with, and something that I know really well. And I said, well, let me take this, and I'm going to try to formulate around that using the same chemistry as 320, and also the same catalyst, universal catalyst, and all-purpose reducer. But I had to do some formulation and do trials to modify things and use additives to actually increase the durability. The biggest issue that I had was trying to increase the scuff and mar resistance. There isn't really scuff and mar resistance present in our current Polyglass 320. So because people are going to be walking on this, and they're going to be walking in shoes, and there might be, chunky heels or a pebble in somebody's tread, in their shoe. It's like, how in the world can we do this? So I came up with a list of additives and tried them in various formulations, and came up with a formulation I thought was good. And I sprayed out wonderfully, and I wanted to test it. Well, there's no real ASTM method of testing for durability. Interestingly enough, our shipping supervisor at the time, he played hockey, and when I was talking to him about this, he said, oh, well, let me bring in a hockey puck. You can try that. And I'm like, well, okay. So I actually used the hockey puck for a short amount of time making Mars, but it's not real world. I mean, no one's playing hockey in their house. So when I was talking with Danny Nichols, our president and CEO of the company, she said, bring in a tile that's been coated with the formulation that you think is worthwhile. And this is actually what Danny did. So she had on chunky heels and she went ahead and essentially tap danced on that tile to make scuffs, enough scuffs that I could see whether or not the coating itself was durable. So that's what the coating looked like after she was done. So what I did is I took that particular tile and I said, well, let's see how durable it is. Are these scuff marks still going to be there? And let me take some, I don't even have soap on this paper towel, it's just water and scrubbing. And what I came to find out was those scuff marks went away immediately with just some simple scrubbing with water. And the coating was not marred whatsoever. So I was confident that we actually had a formulation to then move out into the field. And we had about a half a dozen people field test it. And they said the same thing after they tried it out, that it is extremely durable. And they were quite happy with how it applied and the results. So what we found is that we ended up having our most durable coating ever based on these formulations and trials and feedback from people in the field. Now, one question that's immediately comes to mind as well, if this is so durable, let's use it everywhere. Let's use it in tubs. Let's use it, on a surround. And so what I want to caution you, because this coating is engineered specifically for people for foot traffic. And the other thing is, because those additives are present, it makes the coating considerably less flexible. So our other top coats for tubs and showers and surrounds are durable for tubs for that purpose, but are not exactly flexible. And so what I don't want happening is the coating to actually crack as it's curing around the curve, which is my fear. So I did impact testing, realized that the tensile strength is extremely higher than 320, which leads to less flexibility. So that said, for flat surfaces, it's great. And it lasts considerably a long time. So what is this tile floor coating? What surfaces does it target specifically? So anything that you would find on a floor, ceramic and porcelain tile, terrazzo. People have asked, well, can I apply this on terrazzo in showers? And absolutely you can. That's a great application for this material. Natural stone, and that's a broad category. So think anything that's granite, quartz, marble, if anybody would want to finish marble, tile, slate, onyx, anything that you would find on a floor where it's manufactured and there is an actual sealer coat on it, you can refinish those. The last one's a really interesting one. It's new vinyl tile. I really didn't think that this coating would hold up to vinyl, but I bought some and sprayed it. I was looking for that, and also linoleum, which I'll get to in a second. And it held up beautifully on vinyl. So new vinyl tiles can be coated with this tile floor coating. But linoleum, I didn't find any. I don't, that's kind of an obsolete technology, and stores don't really sell that anymore. It's a very soft coating. I would not recommend even attempting that on linoleum, to be honest. Most likely, if somebody wants that changed out, you probably would have to replace it. But all of these other surfaces, absolutely, they can be targeted with this particular coating. Well, how do you clean and prep for it? Well, very similar to tubs and tile and showers and surround. You would clean the tile floor with either Piranha Prep or Polyclean. Piranha Prep having the added benefit of etching the surface as well as cleaning, and making sure that everything is fully rinsed down, because what you don't want is you don't want to have any sort of detergent residue, because that soap residue prevents adhesion. So remember, when you're applying these coatings, or just coatings in general, whenever you have any sort of residue that's present, it has to be removed, because that prevents adhesion. So clean with Piranha Prep or Polyclean, rinse everything thoroughly. And one additional thing that you have to think about with tile, specifically if it's ceramic or porcelain tile, is there are grout lines present. And those grout lines really should be as clean as you possibly can get them. So people have issues a lot of the time with grout, making sure it's clean. One really simple thing that you can do, it's a little tedious, but you can use a grout brush. What's actually called a grout saw. My mistake. I've used this in the past to clean out the grout lines, and it's actually just abrading the top layer of the grout that's dirty because grout is porous, and then you're going to be wiping that off, blowing it off with your compressor, or wiping it off with a tack cloth, making sure that that grout residue is gone. So next step after cleaning is you're going to either epoxy prime or you'll apply Gorilla Grip down. Now, for people that know me, I am a stickler when it comes to applying Gorilla Grip. You really are you actually should always do this. Mix up your pot and be ready to spray. And then right before you spray your first coat, you apply the Gorilla Grip on. There are silane present in Gorilla Grip, and they will react with moisture in the environment reasonably quickly. So best practice is to wipe the Gorilla Grip on, watch it flash off. It only takes a minute for it to flash off, and then you'll spray your first coat. So when you have a large area, which I'll get to in a little bit, there's a methodology that you can use where you'll do it either piecemeal or there's a different piece of equipment that you can use. In terms of masking off the area, more is definitely better. Be Santa Claus. That's the easiest way that I can say it. You want to make sure that everything is masked. Even if you have your air and your gun tweaked where you're minimizing the overspray, it's just better to prepare in advance and make sure that everything that you don't want refinished is masked off. So now, what kind of equipment do you need to apply the tile floor? Well, you have almost everything that you need. You need an HVOP system. You'll need personal protective equipment, and you'll need vents. So either air hog, fans, your own ventilation. If you have a tiny giant, that's great too. The thing that you may not have, and it's pretty common in the industry where people are applying floor coatings, are shoe spikes. Shoe spikes are a very, very inexpensive way to walk on a floor that's been coated already, and you're leaving little pinholes. And what you'll do is you'll just coat over those pinholes as you're walking. So it's used a lot in epoxy flooring for garage floors, just because people squeegee that on. But you can absolutely use shoe spikes to spray and spray over those pinholes that you're leaving behind. So we'll talk about that in a second. Now, I mean, for those of you that are uncomfortable with using shoe spikes, because I've talked to a few people that are, if you have the time, you can actually let each coat dry to touch rather than dry to tack, but it's not nearly as efficient. So you're going to be, you're going to be walking in booties or in your stocking feet when each coat is fully dry, and that's kind of time consuming. So I'm always trying to think in terms of efficiency for you, because the more efficient you are, the higher your gross profit margin is. So let's talk about methodology in terms of how this coating is applied. What are the steps? So when you're in an area, let's just talk like a standard 5x6 bathroom, you have everything masked off, everything is ready to, you're ready to spray. You've wiped your Gorilla Grip on, and then you'll walk in. Now for your first coat, you don't need to have the shoe spikes on. You will start in a far corner and you will spray and walk backwards out of the room, roughly 18 to 24 inches away from the surface. Now this is different than spraying a tub or showers or surrounds. Generally, fine finish coatings, you need to be closer, 6 to 8 inches away most of the time. If you're spraying something like Flintstone, you can be a little bit further away. But here, I wanted to formulate something where people aren't bending over and getting super close to the surface. It's just not necessary. The main thing that you're attempting to do when you're applying the coating is just getting full coverage. Now, remember, with each coat, oh, let me back up 1 second, because I wanted to just go over this really quickly. Sorry about that. So, you're just trying to get full coverage of the area. That's all that you're attempting to do. So, and there's no need to actually modify the speed. So you're putting 3 coats of material on the surface of the floor, but you're not modifying, you're not changing it up. You're not putting a tack coat, 2 wet coats, just 3 medium speed coats. Each coat is the same. What is going to change is after the first coat's applied and you're letting it dry to tack. When it's dry to tack, you'll put the shoe spikes over your shoes. You will walk into the area, again, to the same point where you started in the far corner. You'll notice you're leaving little pinholes, you know, in the surface. And then you'll spray, and as you're spraying and walking backwards, you're coating over those pinholes and filling those in. So you'll do that for the second and the third coats. Make sure also that when you do have the shoe spikes on, that you have something outside of the room that's durable that you can step on, so you're not ruining the actual floor itself. So piece of plywood, a tile, a very heavy drop cloth. I mean, a light drop cloth, you'll just puncture right through it. So, but you get my point. You certainly don't want to mess up the floor outside of the area that you're covering. So second and third coats, you're going to be doing the same thing. And then after that last coat is done, you're going to let it fully dry. The dry time takes roughly half an hour or so, a minimum. I mean, an hour is better, but half an hour before you can then go in and start unmasking everything. So what if you have a large area that you're refinishing? So not a small bathroom. Let's say you're doing a 20 by 30 area. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. My apologies. So let's talk first about the bathroom. And let's say you're going to refinish the entire bathroom, including the floor. What do you spray first? I mean, you have the tub that you have to spray, you have the surround, you have the floor. Best practice in this instance is to do the floor first, because it's the most durable coating that you're going to be spraying. And once that's fully cured, you can then walk over it. You're not going to have to be concerned about marring it, scuffing it, doing anything. Excuse me, you're going to be putting a drop cloth over that anyway when you're then refinishing the tub and the surround, or the tub and the shower. So always do the floor first, let that fully cure. It takes 2 hours to fully cure to water, but return to use time, minimum 24 hours. And you can, as you know, you can absolutely tell your end user longer, tell them 48 hours or what have you to return to use. This coating actually lasts, you get quite a bit of coverage in a half a gallon. So the range is 175 to 210 square feet. Just, you know, think in the middle, just say 200 square feet per half gallon. That's quite a bit of coverage that you get from a half gallon of this coating when it's catalyzed and reduced. What kind of warranty should you provide people? Well, it's a standard, 5-year warranty for residential, 1-year warranty for commercial. Now, we did say that this is the most durable coating we have, but let's say, for instance, you're doing a lobby, right? There's a ton of traffic that goes in and out of a lobby, a lot of foot traffic. And what that means is you'll have to come back annually to actually recoat it, to touch it out. Residential, obviously, there's not nearly as much foot traffic, so you're not going to get the wear and tear that you would get in a commercial setting. Those are just recommended warranties. You can definitely add more years on to the residential if you want to, but standard 5-year warranty is best in our opinion, and a standard 1 year for commercial. How do you clean this? Well, really simple. Once it's fully cured, and ready for use, just a standard floor cleaner. I mean, a wet jet works great to clean it. Mopping, also great. Those grout lines are covered up. They're not going to be dirty anymore. So the end user won't have to really worry about that. Just like in tub, no abrasive cleaners. Make sure it's no Comet, no Ajax, nothing like that. Just let the end user know if they would ever use an abrasive cleaner, it's going to dull the surface. It's also going to abrade it. It's going to eat away at it. And then they're not going to be happy because they're weakening the coating by removing some. So tell them this, say, whatever you'd use on the exterior of your car, use the same, for your floor. So, I mean, just a mop and water, Ajax or Mr. Clean or what have you, that's great. That said, there's no special maintenance that's needed once the floor is coated with this tile floor coating. Well, how do you actually price this? Well, the range that we've seen so far is pricing is anywhere from $12 to $18 per square foot. So the way that you quote out a job is you figure out the square feet, and generally speaking, the larger the area, you'd reduce the cost per square foot. It's kind of the easiest way to think of it. If you're doing multiple areas in the same house, I recommend, as always, to quote each particular job, total them up, and then you knock off anywhere from 15 to 20% because you're at the same site. When you're at the same site, it's much easier for you to do these jobs and to get them done. And so pass on that benefit, not only the benefit of you being more efficient in the same area, but also the benefit to the homeowner that you're able, you don't have to actually go from from unit to unit. So speaking of large area, let's say for instance, you have a 20 by 30 area. How do you actually refinish that using the tile floor coating? There are a couple of different ways that you can approach this. So you can either do it in sections. You work backwards, like I mentioned before. So you kind of section it off in pieces. You put 3 coats on in each section, but you will not apply, if you're using Gorilla Grip on the entire floor. I mean, that won't work. You'll just apply it on each section that you're working on prior to spraying the first coat. But what you'll do is, and this is kind of an interesting thing to think about, as you're applying the last coat of the section that you're working on and stepping backwards, you would also apply the first coat of the new section. That way you're not leaving any striping, any lines present. It's a continuous finish. People will not see the difference as you're moving from section to section. That's one way to think of it, to do it piecemeal so that you're able to then move backward. Or the other thing that you can do is you can pick up a Titan Flex Spray Pro 18 volt. So this is a battery powered Titan. They just released it not too long ago. We are actually selling this. It comes with 2 batteries and a charger as well as the setup. And each battery covers roughly 600 square feet. So as you're using the battery for one area, you could be charging the other battery and just swap them back and forth. This comes with 2 different pots. One is a fine finish pot, and it's not really needles per se. It's just the whole setup for the pot and the air cap and everything. One's for fine finish, and you can definitely make that a little finer, a little coarser, depending on your air cap, and there's a kind of a gauge on the dial where the retaining ring would be, and a coarse finish. And the coarse finish is for, say, Flintstone, or something that's thicker, like latex, for instance, if you wanted to use it for latex. So a lot of use, a lot of different functions for this particular sprayer. But if you had a battery powered sprayer, you could theoretically spray the entire area. There's no cord. I mean, the pot it's roughly, I think it's roughly 40 ounces, but I mean, let's just say a quart. So you mix up a full quart, you can spray the full area, let that dry to tack, then put your shoe spikes on and move on to the second coat and then the third coat. So we are giving one of these away to an attendee today. Just make sure that you stay until the end of the webinar, and we will randomly select one of you, and I'll go ahead and as I'm answering questions at the end, I will mention who's won this Flex Spray Pro. But if you're interested in this, we actually have it on our website now. I think it was just added today or yesterday. And I believe Sue will provide a link for you so that you can actually see its cost and everything. But we've gotten a lot of great feedback on this, actually, again, testing it out in the field, and you'd be amazed at how portable it is. I mean, it comes in what looks like a large cooler. It's so light. So definitely something that you should consider, not just for tile floors, because you can finish a lot of things with this. It's just, something else that you can be familiar with. So a great tool that I'm mentioning. Now, so let's talk about other things that you can do in terms of the tile floor coating. I mean, you can spray solid colors, and maybe that's what a lot of people want, especially if you're in, say, a shower, and they have terrazzo and they just want a solid color, or, they want their tile floor solid color. But what if, they want something more? Well, one really, really easy thing that you can do is you can apply Flintstone to a tile floor. And then we also have clear that you can apply over the floor that you've sprayed the Flintstone on. So essentially you're thinking about Flintstone on a surround, and you're taking that and you're applying it to the floor. But you really need the tile floor clear to make sure it's durable and it's not going to be marred or scuffed or anything. So now, one thing that you have to remember is Flintstone is waterborne. You have to make sure it's fully dry and that you sand it smooth. So just use some 220 grit, lightly sand it, and before you actually apply the tile floor clear over it. But application of the tile floor clear is the same way. You're going to be wearing shoe spikes if it's a large area, and you're going to be spraying each coat, moving backwards. That's the second and third coat. First coat, obviously, you're spraying on the Flintstone, you won't need shoe spikes. What else can you do? So let's say, for instance, you have an end user and they love the idea of applying tile floor, but they said, well, I would really miss the grout lines. I want to make sure that, we actually have some sort of contrast or something. Even if you're telling me that I don't really need to worry about cleaning the grout, because it's covered well. Here's another really, really simple thing that you can do is you can apply grout paint to the grout lines after the tile is fully cured. There are about a dozen different colors of grout paint that I've found from a particular company. You can find these at Home Depot or at Lowe's. But remember, it's something, and it's waterborne, but it actually does cure quickly. So once this is applied, it provides a really nice contrast, and make sure that those grout lines stand out. Now remember, the grout lines might be a little uneven. You may have to actually clean off areas as you're doing them. But then once it fully cures, very, very light buff to make sure that grout line looks great. So the last little technique, and remember too, so let's back up for a second. When we're talking about Flintstone, talking about grout paint, talking about the next, the last kind of special effect that I'll tell you about, remember that you charge accordingly, because your most valuable thing is your time. Yes, these things take, additional material and everything, but those are minimal compared to your time that it takes. So make sure that you're charging accordingly for these. So if you're putting grout paint on an already, a tile floor that you just refinished, make sure that you charge an extra, depending on the size of the area, anywhere from $200 to $300. I mean, that's just, ballpark, but you get my point. Make sure that you're actually charging extra for these things, because these things will take you time. So the last thing I wanted to mention is something that I call patterning. So patterning is when you're taking coating, you are applying it on a surface, and then you're going to be taking a contrasting coating that actually has catalyst added to it, and then either using sponge, a rag, and just kind of doing a semi-random pattern on. And then you're either coating that lightly with a base coat that you used, or you're applying a clear over that to kind of seal it in. So here's an example of a floor, looks like it's from the 50s or so. It's, pink and black tile. And so the goal was to make this kind of pattern, make it something that was really interesting, because that's what the end user wanted. So the base coat is a white, and then use some gray, paint, tile floor paint, along with catalyst, mix that up, and then in a pan, just kind of splotched it on, and it turned into this. So one thing that's really interesting is that each one of these is unique. And so your end user should definitely be charging, or you should be definitely charging the end user more for something that's that's unique to them. So those are a few ideas that you can do with the tile floor. I'm sure that there are others that people can come up with. But again, all three of these are reasonably easy for you to do. Yeah, so just food for thought, in terms of tile floor, because we wanted to make sure that we provide you with ideas and the product necessary to go forward with those ideas. So thank you for paying attention to the webinar and for sticking forward, to the end. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'm sure that there are some that are in the chat already. So let me open the floor for questions. Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to actually get to the chat window here. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find this.
Hey, Steve, it's Alicia. Do you want me to read the questions to you, and then you can go ahead and answer them?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, thanks, Alicia.
Okay.
Sure.
So we have, can I walk on Gorilla Grip with shoes without affecting adhesion? Wouldn't spikes be better?
Oh, yeah. I actually just talked with someone about this the other day. So that's a really good question. So Gorilla Grip is solvent thin. You're applying this on, and all you're doing is just leaving a residue of silane present. So that silane is barely going to, coat the bottoms of your shoes. And if you're concerned about that, you can certainly, for the first coat anyway, wear booties. I mean, you can certainly wear spikes too. That's not an issue. I just know that, some people have had issues or like concerns about wearing spikes and, in terms of balance and things like that. So yeah, by all means, if you believe that you would kind of get that silane residue on your shoes, go ahead and wear spikes, wear booties, stocking feet. Any of that is okay. But as long as you're spraying that coating, as soon after that flashes, that's best.
Thank you. Next question is, can SB coating be rolled?
They cannot be rolled. I actually attempted this. That's a good question. I mean, I would love to say that it could, but I tried rolling it with a few different types of rollers, and what happens is the solvents and how I formulated it with it's because it's the chemistry similar to 320 polyglass 320. It freezes up so quickly that when you're rolling, it almost provides like a pattern, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted to make sure it was kind of leveled out, And the best way to get that is to actually spray it on.
Great. And can I mask the floor 2 hours after application to refinish the tub?
A good question. I mean, because yeah, and I see where you're getting there. You want to make sure that that's done first. Ideally, it would be best if you actually come back the next day to do the tub and surround, just to ensure that you're not marring up anything or you're not screwing up anything. I mean, people have put down, what happened again? Sorry, the light goes off here when I'm not moving around. We put down, say, red rosin paper, put down drop cloth to prevent anything from happening. But so that said, it's recommended that you actually come back the following day to do the tub and surround and shower.
Okay. Next question, is the coverage based on 1 coat or for doing 3 coats?
3 coats. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Okay. Would this work on a quartz and granite countertop to seal it?
Excellent question. Yes, it can. I would recommend doing the following though for quartz, granite, marble, slate, any of those stones from the manufacturer have a sealer coat present. So after those surfaces are cleaned, I would recommend removing that sealer coat by sanding that off, wiping it down with a tack cloth, getting rid of that with your compressor, and then spraying the tile floor clear over the granite or over the marble or quartz, and that would seal it up.
Okay.
It's going to be, remember too, because this is an actual coating and it's engineered to be walked on, that's definitely going to be a thicker coating on the countertop than you would have a normal sealer coat, which is generally a waterborne acrylic. So be aware of that, but it really shouldn't matter too much in terms of the end user and what they're using it for. It's definitely going to protect from stains or from anything happening to the stone.
Okay. Is the floor slippery when the coating is still wet?
Yes, it is. So be careful when you're so that's why I say to walk backwards when you're applying. And also when you have those shoe spikes on, please don't drag your feet. You're going to be leaving kind of lines rather than just the pinholes. Pick your feet up. And then when you're actually spraying and walking backwards, you really aren't going to be hitting the surface except for those spikes when you're elevated. So you should not have any issues, but just be careful. Do it, walk normal speed or even a little more slowly. And also, here's another tip. Make sure that when you get the shoe spikes and you try those out, that you kind of get used to how they feel. For people that actually have worn cleats before or go golfing, for instance, this is nothing for them. But for somebody who hasn't done that, because I've never golfed and I've never worn cleats or anything, never played baseball or football. So when I wore those, it took a little bit for me to kind of get used to how they feel and how I have to walk. It's kind of, make sure that you lift your feet up, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
All right, thank you. Next question.
Sure.
Come in lots of color options, and can you do custom colors?
Yes and yes. So, I mean, the standard color is white, which is very, very close to bright white. And that's kind of the base that we use to make all light colors is the semi-gloss tile floor white and the clear. So basically, we can use the white and the clear to make any Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore color, in addition to the standard colors that are used for bathrooms, such as Kohler white, American Standard white, etc.
Okay. Can this work on fiberglass tubs and porcelain sinks?
Okay, so I would not recommend using it in a sink, because remember, this is durable and more inflexible. So if you're going to want to use this in a porcelain sink, just use our normal tub and tile coating instead of our Polyglass 320 or our Mega Fast, just because that is actually formulated to go around curves, but still be durable. A fiberglass shower, I mean, you can use it on the pan of the shower on the bottom. That it really isn't going to hurt anything, but it's just better for you to use the, again, tub and towel and shower coating, just because that's what it's formulated for. So, when I mentioned before about over-engineered, because people have asked me, hey, can I put this on a surround? Well, you absolutely can. It's not necessary. You're going to be paying a little bit more to actually apply this on the surround rather than having the tub and towel coating on the surround, which is what that's meant for. But you certainly can. It's not going to hurt anything. The main thing to remember is on any curved surfaces, do not apply this. I would just rather you not, take the risk of it cracking when it cures.
Okay. How are scratches being repaired?
Yeah, excellent question. Very similarly to what you would do for a tub, or a shower. So you would use chip filler if there's a scratch present. And then you can go ahead and spot repair it with tile floor coating using an airbrush. That said, look, anything can happen, right? You don't know what kind of heavy duty damage an end user will do to a floor. But really, this being such a durable coating, it'll be very, very unlikely that you'll get complaints about any scratches or anything.
Okay. Gary asked, what is the longest time you can wait between coats to apply the next coat or to make a pattern?
Or to what? I'm sorry?
To create a pattern.
Okay. Yeah, good question, Gary. You can absolutely, because people have done this, you can absolutely wait until things are completely dry to touch before moving on to the next coat. So it doesn't necessarily have to be dry to tack. And dry to tack is roughly anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes before it tacks up and before you apply the next coat. So you can wait, an hour if you want to, and then apply the next coat. It's not fully cured at that point. And as long as the coating isn't cured, you're still going to get great adhesion, and the coating is going to melt into the existing coating. So, because there are a couple of people that I've spoken with that they adamantly refuse to use shoe spikes, they would rather just walk on the floor. And so in order to do that, they wait until each coat is fully dry. So.
Thank you. Let's see. Next is from Frank. How do you clean the grout and make sure all the grease and dirt is out? How many coats of primer do you need after it's clean?
That's a good question, Frank. You can certainly use, so as I mentioned, Polyclean, Piranha Prep, those target heavy stains. In the tub, for grout lines, it's a little bit different. Do your best to actually clean it with, if something is filthy, you can use a specialized grout cleaner. I've actually used them to varying success, but if you still can't get it pristine, like I mentioned, use a grout saw, and you're actually going to be abrading away that filthy area. The main thing to remember is, as long as it's for the most part clean, you're still, because the grout is porous, the coating is going to adhere to it, which is great. You just want to try to prevent any sort of filth and grease, as you mentioned.
Okay, and Steve wants to know, is this toxic?
Toxic. Look, water can be toxic if I drink enough of it in a small amount of time. I could throw off my electrolytes and I can go into cardiac arrest. So if you misuse anything, sure, it can be toxic. If you're wearing proper personal protective equipment, safety glasses or goggles, a fresh air system or cartridge respirator, you're not going to have any issues. This is a 2-part polyurethane. Chemically speaking, the same or very, very similar to all of our tub and tile top coats that we sell. And as long as you're protecting yourself, protecting your eyesight and your breathing, because those are crucial and invaluable, you are not going to have any issues whatsoever.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we have one from Kelly that says, you mentioned the contract and said to mix the paint and catalyst together. Do you then just spray it over the first coat with a light coat?
Okay, yeah, I mean, so the mix ratio is the same mix ratio as our Polyglass 320, so it's 2 parts resin. I didn't mention this, so thanks, Kelly, I'll go ahead and just emphasize this. 2 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, and 1 part reducer. Those 3 components are mixed together. And then after priming, which is either spraying epoxy primer or wiping Gorilla Grip on and letting it flash off, you're then going to spray your first coat, a medium speed coat. So it's not a fast coat, it's a medium speed coat, and all you're doing is trying to cover the surface. You're not going to have full coverage after the first coat. It's the second and third coats where you're getting full coverage and you're building up that film.
Thank you for that. And then we have from Kevin, how long until I can tape the floor if I'm doing a whole bathroom and tub?
Yeah, I would recommend, Kevin, I forget who had asked this earlier, I'd recommend just kind of waiting 24 hours. I have spoken with people before who are doing this and they're doing it faster, but just to ensure that, you know, you have full cure time and that you're not going to be, I guess, I'm not abrading this, but you're not going to be removing any of the coating or anything. Just wait 24 hours and then go ahead and mask off so that you can apply the coating on the tub and tile. Or tub and surround or shower. Yeah.
We have a question from John that says, if a previous contractor incorrectly installs the coating and it's not sticking, how hard is it to strip or feather?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the coating that's present, really, John. I mean, if somebody else has done it and it's not sticking, then that's a cleaning or a prep issue, most likely. I mean, the coating is going to be curing, or should be cured if they've done things properly and measured things out properly. So you should be able to remove it reasonably easy. I would think, at least in my experience anyway, whenever somebody's mixed a proper ratio of tub and tile coating, but they haven't cleaned or prepped it properly, it just kind of comes off in sheets. Most likely that would be the same thing with the tile floor coating, is that you would just be able to peel it off or use some Sonic strip to remove that so that you can apply it properly.
Thank you. And we're going to do, I think, one more question and then we're going to announce the winner of this.
Awesome. That's great.
Spray. So we have, if the floor was pre-painted and it's peeling, can you use Sonic Stripper?
You absolutely can. In fact, that's encouraged to do. What I tell people in general is this: anytime you see failures, make sure that those are removed properly. And you can do that either with sanding, which is more labor intensive, or with Sonic Strip. Now, here's the question, and it's on a case-by-case basis, really. The flooring, is it adhering everywhere? Or is it just one area that's failing? Because if it's adhering in every other place and it's just one area that's failing, you may have to just strip that portion. And I use the example of, you know, I'm painting a wall. I'm using architectural coating and rolling a wall. Well, I see an area that's failing. It's peeling off in just one spot, but everything else looks good. I will just sand that area and then I'll go ahead and roll it on and feather it in that area to kind of even out the coating. So I wouldn't strip off the entire wall. Same thing applies with a floor or even with a tub. You have to make the decision, do I have great adhesion everywhere? Or is it just failing in that one area for some reason that I can't see or I don't know? Maybe just in that area wasn't prepped properly or cleaned properly. Okay, then let me go ahead and use Sonic Strip around that until, you know, it gets to the area where it is adhered properly so that I can go ahead and then, you know, apply the fresh coating. So.
All right, thank you. So we are going to, let's see.
Oh, is it time? Is it time for the giveaway?
It is.
The Flex Spray Pro giveaway. Here we go.
Yes, so the winner of a brand new Titan Flex Spray cordless sprayer is Brandon Frederking. So Brandon, if you could put your phone number in the chat to us, somebody will be giving you a call to let you know how we can get it to you. So thank you.
All right. Congratulations, Brandon. Way to go. That's awesome. So one thing that I didn't mention, and I just want to say this before we depart, again, thank you so much on behalf of everyone here at NAPCO for attending. I really appreciate you. And so in case you're wondering, well, how do I get started, or like, how do I price jobs out, do it? We're going to go ahead. One thing that we're going to do, in addition to sending you a link to this kind of webinar, it's a recorded portion of the webinar. We're going to send you kind of a start guide in terms of the things that you would need, how to price jobs out, things to think about. And then if things aren't answered on there, don't hesitate to contact us, because that's, we're here to help. We're here to support you. So anything that we can do to help so that get you started, increase your revenue streams, we're happy to do that. That's part of who we are. So again, on behalf of NAPCO, everyone in NAPCO, thank you all. Sue, Alicia, thank you for your help, and hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Yep, and I'll throw in there, if there's any questions we did not or Steve didn't get a chance to answer, we will go through them all, and we will make sure that he answers everybody individually. And
absolutely. All right. Thank you all.